And that's basically how the organelles that we learn in Form 4 Chapter 2 relates to the formation of extracellular enzymes in Form 4 Chapter 5. In this video, I'm mainly going to do a few Form 4 Chapter 2 organelle questions and show you how does it relate to the formation of extracellular enzymes that we learn in Form 4 Chapter 5. Now, extracellular enzymes means enzymes that function outside of our cell, because extra means outside, cellular means cell, so outside of the cell. Now, enzymes are actually being produced by the cells in our body by mainly using the three organelles that we learned in Form 4 Chapter 2, Go, which is the ribosome, rough endoplasmic reticulum, and Golgi apparatus. Now, I like to call these three organelles like the three brothers because they always work together. Now, if you remember their function, ribosome synthesizes protein, rough ER then transport the protein to Golgi apparatus, whereby Golgi apparatus will modify the proteins into things that our body needs, for example, enzymes. So we can start by looking at the first question. Okay, they ask us to label a few cell structures, a few organelles. So Q, very obvious, that is called the rough endoplasmic reticulum. And then obviously this is smooth lah, because you see rough, a lot of dot, you touch it also very rough, like pimple like that. So these are actually the ribosome lah. So got ribosome is rough, no ribosome, smooth. And then P is obviously the Golgi apparatus. Now you might be wondering how to differentiate Golgi apparatus and smooth ER. Number one, smooth ER, right? They are always usually right on top of the nucleus. Golgi, you can see further away from the nucleus. Number two, smooth endoplasmic reticulum, right? Their layers, right, are attached, right? For Golgi, right, they are like Wi-Fi like that. Each layer are not attached to each other. Okay, so this is obviously Golgi apparatus lah. Now, give one example of human cell that has high density of ribosome. Now, ribosome synthesizes protein. So, whatever cells in our body that need to use protein to make things will definitely have a lot of ribosome. Along together with your rough ER and Golgi, because they always work together. So, example, cells that produce enzymes. So, what part of our body produce enzymes is your digestive system. So, digestive organ punya cell, the most common one is your pancreatic cell. Like, this is like the most common answer because your pancreas actually got produce a few enzymes to help you digest food lah. Other than pancreatic cell, you also can say epithelial cells in your stomach and epithelial cells in your intestine that produce enzymes in your stomach and intestine lah. These two also can. But yeah, to keep it simple lah, pancreatic cell. And then C, here comes the main question. Describe the relationship between cell component P and Q, your Golgi apparatus and your rough ER, in the production of extracellular enzymes. Okay, we're going to do an essay question here, around 6 to 8 marks, which I will aim around 8 marks. Now, bear in mind the words I use here might be a bit different than in a textbook. So to make it easier, however, the main points, the keywords are still there. Okay, we're going to start from Q first, definitely. Now, if it's 8 mark punya question, even if you just ask about rough ER, you need to start from the ribosome on it, because ribosome is always on your rough ER. So I start by saying the ribosome synthesizes protein. So the ribosome on cell component Q, which is rough ER, synthesizes protein. Then your rough endoplasmic reticulum, what does it do with the protein? It will package the protein into what we call as transport vesicles. So I mean right here first, package into transport vesicles. Now these transport vesicles, right, they are like lorry like that, which they will help transport the protein to your Golgi. So if you look at the diagram over here, see these dots here coming out from your rough endoplasmic reticulum, rough ER. So these are actually your transport vesicle. They help transport the protein to the Golgi. So after you mention transport vesicle already, then mention what does it do? The transport vesicle transports the protein to Golgi apparatus. Now once you reach the Golgi apparatus, right, it will fuse with it, attach to it. So you must say and fuses with it, which will give you another mark in an essay question. Okay, now I reached my final destination already, the Golgi. So Golgi will use the protein to make the enzyme. Let's say I use flour to make bread like that. So I use the raw material to form what I want right now. So we say P, which is your Golgi, will modify the proteins into enzyme. Now, once I got this enzyme ready, I will package it one more time, this time into another vesicle called secretory vesicle. This secretory vesicle is another vesicle now that will help transport the enzyme out of the cell. Because right now the question is asking extracellular enzyme outside of the cell. So this secretory vesicle will help to secrete the enzyme out of the cell. So secretory comes from the word secrete. So what you will do here is, right, that I draw here, they will attach, fuse with the plasma membrane, and then just release it out. It's that simple. So, just mention, the secretory vesicle fuse with the plasma membrane. Fuse means attached to it. And then just say it secrete extracellular enzyme out of the cell. And that's basically the whole process. Now, once you do the function of ribosome, rough ER, and Golgi apparatus, right, all you need to do is just explain transport vesicle and secretory vesicle. And that's basically how the organelles that we learn in Form 4 Chapter 2 relates to the formation of extracellular enzymes in Form 4 Chapter 5. Then let's try to look at another example question. Okay, I look at this third one first, which is related to what we did just now. Explain what will happen to the production of extracellular enzyme if P and Q are absent. Okay, it's a different question now, but P and Q is the same thing, your Golgi apparatus and your rough ER. Now, what happens if these two tada? So very simple. If you don't have rough ER, number one, you don't have ribosome. So you can start by saying there's no ribosome to synthesize protein. And number two, you cannot transport the protein to your Golgi, which is exactly what is mentioned here. Without Q, there is no ribosome to synthesize protein, and then the protein not transported to your Golgi. And then without Golgi, even though you got protein, you can't use the protein to make enzymes. You can't modify it, right? So the protein are not modified into enzyme. Just like you got flour, but no bread shop. So the flour cannot use to make bread. So in the end, the question asked, what will happen to the production of extracellular enzymes? Don't have flour. So extracellular enzymes are not secreted. So you just have to mention P and Q, which is your rough ER Golgi apparatus cannot do what does it usually do, and then no enzymes. Okay, then there's a few more other organelle questions here we just revised together. So one function of chromosomes. Now, all these thingies inside your nucleus, right, are called the chromosome. Chromosome inside basically got your genes, your DNA. So you just say one function only, so it contains genetic information. Name two enzymes that are secreted by pancreatic cell. Now, we mentioned that pancreatic cell earlier secretes a lot of enzymes, right? So they need the ribogo. So now here they're asking what are the enzymes. Okay, this is actually related to your Form 4 Chapter 9 digestion, which we actually learned. There are three enzymes from there. Just remember LAT, your lipase, amylase, and T-trypsin. So any of these two will be correct. Then just add another bonus one for you all. Mitochondria, they show us here. So why the inner membrane of this organelle has manifolding? So we always notice that mitochondria, there are two membranes, one outer layer one, and the inner one is always like this. Now in bio, right, every time you see a curved punya surface, just remember this. Curved surface compared to straight surface has a larger surface area. So you write that first law. But don't just stop there. 2 marks, so you got to explain this large surface area is for what? So mitochondria, the function is to carry out what we call cellular respiration to generate energy. So basically, more surface area, you got more cellular respiration, therefore more energy. So we say it is to increase the rate of cellular respiration. And finally, why the pancreatic cell has large number of these organelles? Means why pancreatic cell have a lot of mitochondria. Now, usually this question is like to ask why muscle cell have a lot of mitochondria, because we all know muscle cell need the energy for muscle contraction so that you can move. Okay, so the first mark, right, is always explain the function of the organelle first. So they ask why pancreatic cell need a lot of mitochondria, because pancreatic cell probably need a lot of energy, just like muscle cell also need a lot of energy. So we mentioned the main function first, energy. So because it requires more energy, then explain what is it for. So muscle need energy for contraction. Pancreatic cell actually needs the energy to help secrete the enzyme out. So to push, to release the enzyme out, you need energy. So that is the function. So it's to secrete extracellular enzymes. And you can add out of the cell. Now, I hope that this video actually helped you all on the organelles and also the formation enzyme part. Now, by the way, I'll be having a free midterm revision seminar under TTC Education. So you can see the timetable here. So this registration is completely free. You just have to click the link below in the description and then you can register and join for completely free. Okay, so I hope to see you guys soon. Bye bye.